I do, is the policies, by which I mean all the surrounding artifacts, or the sort of surrounding features of the environment in which you're working, which you need to take cognizance of when you're putting together a plan for delivery. I think here the speed of the transition is a key one. We've got a separate slide for that, so we'll come back to that. Obviously, you always have security and regulatory requirements that you need to factor in, especially if you're moving off premises and into the cloud. And we've seen that some of the options that you have are may come up against regulatory or security issues. If it's enhanced flexibility you're after, or is it a costly benefit? Do you see yourself as reducing your OPEX or something? Is it the scaling capability you want? Do you want to be able to, as I said, one of the big benefits that I had, which I was astounded by when I first started using Amazon Web Services, was the ability to scale really, really rapidly and then scale it back again when you needed it. It was a game changer as far as data migration was concerned. Resilience, how do you build in resilience? Which of the various options do you want to have? Some of the stuff perhaps in a private cloud that's on premise, even though it's using the same software, it's still got the same ability to connect over the internet to the public clouds that you might also be using, but it gives you the resilience to be able to carry on operating if any part of that goes down. Operational capital expenditure. This is capital expenditure. This is one for the accountants, but often they're not prepared for the fact that if you build a server room with bricks and mortar and pieces of machinery in there, servers and all the rest of it in there, then that counts as a capital expenditure and gets depreciated differently from if you're buying a service. So you need to understand how that affects some of your financial reporting and how you account for that. And in some industries, like the water industry, capex and opex is reported to the regulator. So if you started switching from capex to opex, there's a discussion that has to be had outside of the project. And finally, what's the cloud maturity level you're aiming for? Are you aiming to be fully cloud, everything cloud delivered, or are you happy with if you can get 80% of your most important transactions and so on, into the cloud, and you get 20% or 10% of your grunty old systems still kicking around in a room somewhere? If that's acceptable, then that's also something you need to know, because obviously, like anything else, the first 50% is a lot cheaper than the second 50% to deliver. Okay. Creating a data catalog. It's essential. It really, I can't stress too much just how important it is to have a list of the current systems that are in use, both the official ones and the shadow IT ones. And how easy will it be to port them to the cloud or to recreate them on the cloud, especially the shadow ones you could probably recreate. And will they benefit from being cloud native? And there are benefits that I'm not going into here about that you need to look up about things like microservices and things like that you only get with cloud software. But does that actually bring any benefit to some of these long end of the tail applications? Or are they just as well served by whatever it is they've got at the moment? So you really do need to get a grip on all the applications in your data catalog, because what you don't want is to believe that you're coming to the end and then suddenly discover a list of another 100 applications that need to be moved. Establish your stakeholders. Get the business domain experts on side, work out your external stakeholders. I think we've covered some of this in what I've said earlier on. Timeframes. There are, if you're as it says here, newly formed or a small organisation, the chances are you won't have the behemoths of the old mainframe computers to deal with. So you could actually you could go at a faster pace than a more mature organisation, which has got a long tail of legacy applications that need to be moved. Is the force majeure, or the burning platform, as I sometimes call it. That's where mergers and demergers, for instance, mean that you've only got a set window of time in which you can do the activity of moving things off. I did some work on the Ford decoupling, Land Rover and Jaguar decoupling from Ford in a demerger, and obviously there was a time frame in the contract of 2 years for them to be off the Ford systems. So in those circumstances, you may be forced to make decisions that you wouldn't otherwise have made so just so that you can get your data, you can get your systems out of wherever they are at the moment into somewhere where you can then rework them. So you do like a two-phase move, really. Twilighting, sometimes your licenses are running out. If you're like I am, a Skype user, obviously that's going out of service. Microsoft's no longer supporting it. It will cease to work from May or sometime after that. So if you're in that situation, then again, time is short. You don't get the opportunity to dwell too long on it, and maybe you have to make some choices that are impacted by that. Work from home was obviously another change that's considerably altered the way that we think about and work, and getting access to information is a lot easier if you've moved your apps online, then they can be accessed anywhere from anywhere. Don't have to be physically in the office. So if that's a driver, then again, you may find yourself making choices that you wouldn't otherwise make. It's just another dimension you need to put into it. If we proceed slowly, which is probably not too bad an idea, we could think carefully about the long tail of legacy applications, all those little apps that are kicking around in the server room and hidden away on bits and pieces of code, spreadsheets. We could have found those out during our data discovery phase, and we can have the conversations about whether we move them or not. Some hopeful things there. Start small and think big. Get your teeth into actually putting up a platform as a service. You'll be using it anyway. Something like that's a really useful thing while you're doing your delivery. It'll get you into the mindset of no longer having your own on-site support for your hardware and software, how to deal with it, and what sort of contracts are out there. Maybe, as it says, you've got a limited delivery and change bandwidth. You may be, a very lean running company, so you simply can't take on all the activities you'd like to take on. So you have to spin it out over a certain length of time. He says here, going big on on SaaS. If you decide you're going to do a Salesforce implementation and you're anything other than a very small company, then you should look at 2 years to get your system up and running and actually being used. So that has a big chunk, and it'll pull a lot of people out of out of the business, and a lot of management time, a lot of technical time. So there's not going to be a whole lot of bandwidth left doing anything else on any of the other systems that need to move. So again, it's all about getting your route map, getting your roadmap laid out, and understanding what you can achieve in what timescales. Some costs, obviously, if you might have spent a lot of money developing a particular application and people don't want to throw that away, might have already gone live a year ago or 2 years previously. And sunk value, that's where people have been spending a lot of time and money developing a system over dozens of years, perhaps, which has an awful lot of built-in fixes that work only for your company. And the question is, how much of that can you salvage? And we'll have a look at a couple of things to see how much you could maybe salvage, as opposed to going hell for leather and throwing away a lot of sunk value. So we bring all this together into the strategy, and I know there's a question on here about, what the hell are you talking about, Johnny? Is this a PID or whatever? I think what I'm trying to say here, I've got a diagram at the end that explains this a bit better probably, is that it's a two-phase thing. You should be investing a lot of time and energy with a smaller team, going through all these issues, understanding what your roadmap's likely to look at, how it's likely to play out. What the time frames are going to be, what legacy data system stores have you got that you're going to have to move, what are you going to do about the ones that you choose not to move, and then you put all this together into your strategy document. You say, well, that from, if you like, phase one of the project is doing all that work, and it's a considerable amount of work. It's not just writing a project initiation document. It is a kind of significant project in its own right on anything other than a very small company. So you do all of that, and then you take your checkpoint and say, okay, we've now got this. Which of the various options are we going to use? Given, as I've said, that there are different options in terms of service types. There's different options in terms of cloud types. Which mix and match is going to fit your particular set of circumstances, and you can only really come to that once you've done that piece of spade work. So, like I say, I can't stress this. If you really want it to work, you've got to put the hard yards in delivering this kind of thing. Sometimes it's worthwhile picking some low fruit and using that just to keep the seafloor happy. While you're actually getting on and doing all this necessary discovery work. As it says there, refactoring versus container, which we haven't talked about yet, and PaaS versus infrastructure as a service. Which route are you going to go down, or is it going to be a combination of that? Just a quick word about refactoring. So refactoring is the ability to take existing software and rewrite it into cloud native. So it really only works well, I think, with client server type applications, which are quite close in style and structure to your cloud applications. And you can use apps that will read your code and then will rewrite it and create data stores and so on in the new cloud native software. Do they work perfectly? Not in my experience. They usually have known glitches in them, and you have to work around. And certainly, you'd have to do a lot of testing to make sure they work. But it does give you the opportunity to get a quick return by using the logic and knowledge that's embedded in your existing systems and turn it into something that's cloud-based. So refactoring is something to look at, have a look around, see what's available on the marketplace, see whether other people have done it before. We know that SAP is going to be doing a big chunk of this with its moving over to its cloud-based version. So there's going to be a lot of people in that market space will be creating refactoring engines, I'm sure. the question is, what have you got, and is it suitable for refactoring? Is it an option? And the second option there is containers, and that's where you get existing software like a DB2 database or something like that, and you want to and it's running perfectly happily. It's doing a good job. It's not going to be upgraded. It's not going to be done a whole lot of new work done on it. It's only maintenance and so on that's going to be carried out on it. So, do you want to go through the pain of trying to reproduce that in some other form? And you get containers, and that's basically a piece of software that wraps around so that the old software thinks it doesn't know it's moved, and the connectors that lead out of it into the web-based software do the translation. So both sides happy. I've had a look in preparation as I was doing this preparation for this call, and I've tried, thinking of all the more obscure things I've seen over the years, and every one of them had at least somebody somewhere had suggested they had either a refactoring tool or a container that would allow you to move what you have onto a cloud-based platform, probably, as I say, an infrastructure as a software platform, where you could build the necessary harness for it, and that would save you a lot of time. That'd save you a lot of time in that you'd otherwise have to spend in analysis, and an awful lot of risk as well. So it's refactoring and the use of containers is something you need to investigate. Okay, so we're coming to the end now. So I guess this is what I was trying to say in answer to one of the questions, is that this, if you like, there's two significant steps going here. In the initial step is this creating of your initial architecture, your initial strategy, and you can only do that by having your data catalog, having your policies and your stakeholders, working out what sort of strategy is likely to work for you. You're going to create an initial architecture that maybe includes SaaS, maybe it doesn't. You create an initial architecture, an initial roadmap that would spells out over the years in front of you how long it's going to take, and then you then iterate through that for all the 100 and odd systems or whatever it is that you've got, that for each one, and you go through some kind of pass through, like all the green boxes there. You're either going to retain it or you're going to retire it. Retiring is not a bad option, actually. There are specialist outfits that specialize in things like pension systems that nobody's paying into any longer, but which are still paying out to pensioners. That's a big marketplace for that, and closed book insurance and stuff like that. And they will just take that software off you. That's what they do for a living. They don't have any. They're not having to make it up as a new. They will take that off your hands, and they will run all that for you on a facilities management basis. I've worked with people like that. I was never close enough to the contract side of things to understand who pays who what for it, how the commercials work. But from a technical point of view, it means that you can safely retire applications, and they would be either rehoused or they would be run by a third party who are familiar with that software, and they've probably got 50 other companies that they're working for. So that's something to think about. Is it going to go into the cloud, or is it just going to stay put? We talked about that. Is you just going to keep a couple of old boxes somewhere, running some old software that's again isn't part of your future vision, but which is essential for keeping the business running at the moment? after that, because we drop into the various matrices, you've got the matrix between the cloud type and the service type. You've got this. So are we going to use legacy containers? Are we going to refactor it? Are we going to go hell for leather to make it cloud native? You've got to make that decision, and those decisions have got to be made for all of the applications that you're going to see. And then as you go through that with each one of them, or with batches of them, whatever, when you go through that process, you have there's a known process. You've got a known bunch of applications that you've got to pass through, and you can keep some sort of governance going on in terms of throughput. But I guess, as I say, the major point I'm making here is that the ones in red are big pieces of work that need to be done. If and only if you're going to go for a cloud heavy solution. You're not just moving one app in Salesforce. You're actually going to try and move, completely re-engineer the way your operations work. Yeah, so he says full cloud native choice will be a long journey. It can be a long journey, especially, as I say, if you're going to do any SaaS work, then that's years of activity, not months. You might find that a bit like all that stuff that's put in people's lockups when they move house. It may never get unpacked. You may just carry on using the containers forever because nobody ever gets around to. It's never actually worthwhile to do anything other. And as we are still, I'm still working on the migrations I do. Whether they're going to platform on site or whether they're going to platform in the cloud, I'm still working with mainframes, mainframe systems. So we haven't completed the paradigm shift from mainframes to cloud server yet. So there's no reason why we will do this any more successfully. But the things is, if you don't march in time, you get left behind. You will have to move to the people will have to move to the cloud, because that's where you get the benefits of all the new software that's coming out there. You get the benefits of time. You get the best equipment. You're allowed to focus on what it is that your business does, and not on trying to turn yourself into an IT shop. So I think it's not a do it either or. It's you are going to have to do it at some point to some extent, and the best way of doing it is to be blisteringly pragmatic about how much you're going to do, how much you're not going to do, and using any of these workarounds that allow you to complete it as far as your policies dictate. Okay, that's the end of that. A somewhat truncated presentation on my part. Hopefully, when we stitch it all back together, it'll make sense. If you've got any questions, you can always forward them on to me, jmorris@iogo.com. Always happy to have a chat, and you can find me on LinkedIn. Easy enough to find. I wish you well over the summer, and best of luck with your migrations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Johnny. And yes, we'll put this video back together. Everybody who's been watching, if you do have any questions, you can contact Johnny directly, or you can always come through BCS Publishing. We'll be able to make any introductions as appropriate. Obviously, Johnny's book has a lot of the detail in it. But thank you again, Johnny, and sorry everybody for the technical issues we experienced part way. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.